we've got so many languages and we've got so many cultures which, despite all these years of having been oppressed, are still alive and kicking and vibrant as ever, and people being prouder than ever to stand up and proclaim themselves as, I am South African.
The interpreter was the sponge that absorbed all the pain throughout the entire process.
In my first few weeks at the TRC, while I was interpreting, I was telling myself that this could not have happened. I don't know if anybody of you, I thought these stories were so incredible that this can't be real.
So the first few days it was things like you get into the booth and you listen to the stories and you feel like dying. But then you still have to be professional because you don't have to cry in the booth, you don't have to sort of like take side or comment or say anything. You just have to sit there like a pipe and let the information flow. I mean, that's what we expected. But I'll tell you, the first few ones, like I felt like crying and I felt like killing someone for having done something wrong.
Remain professional at all costs. Emotional distance. Even with the tears rolling down your cheeks, you did not give away that your voice, you did not interpret in a shaky voice. You just had to remain so in control.
After the first week or so, you accepted that when you go to work at the Truth Commission, they're going to be horrible stories. It's not a pretty picture. You know that. And I felt the same way myself. I knew what I was dealing with. I mean, there's no glamour here. I didn't sign up for the job, to have a nice time, because you're not having a nice time talking about all these atrocities and violations and crimes that have been kept secret for so long. But for me, with every case, the thing that I would always find the most daunting would be the point where they start telling the up-to-the-minute account of how someone died. And for me, I don't know if anybody else did this, but interpreting in the first person, in order to do that as effectively as possible, you visualize. And that is where the trick sets in, because now you're visualizing how somebody's dying. So there's a little movie playing in your head. You're visualizing exactly what's going on.
And
it's almost as if you're there.
And with the torturer, you were the...
We were actors. You see that kind of a story when we're living someone else's life. You understand? And we are not living our own life. We have to change the character and get into somebody's character and live that life. And when it finishes, we tell ourselves we're just doing the job of acting. It's not something that we should go along with and remember.
A lot of interpreting, it's about conveying the emotions through the tone of your voice. And that's why there's a whole conflict between the issue of objectivity. That's a relative term, really. Somebody can't say, my child was killed, and you tell them, my child was killed. That has to come through your voice. You have to assume that voice. You have to assume that pain.
How do you guys manage with that?
If I'm interpreting for a white Afrikaans-speaking male as a perpetrator, I didn't have to live myself into the role of the perpetrator because I grew up with them. It's a mere process of holding a mirror in front of my face and going, this is a reflection of my background. This is a reflection of where I came from. So all the time you had that kind of thing. The same as you said, you ask yourself, how did these people get like this? And at the same time also you ask yourself, if these people got like this and they found it so easy to get like this, what happened with me that I fortunately missed that turn off?
The idea that sometimes the perpetrators and usually security forces would try and get friendly with the interpreters. We would go into the booth and just interpret, and there would be no communication or interaction with these white men who were the perpetrators. So many people viewed them as monsters, and the only people that they could really, communicate with, talk to, whom they felt at least would be neutral or objective, were the interpreters.
the people who are victims and very poor, they think you on their side, you know, you telling them what's happening.
Not always. There were sometimes when if you interpreted something that they did not like, they would sit and look at you like it was your fault. Why did you? They look at you because you are the one telling me this.
But then also you're saying I.
But
why did you do that?
When you come out, to tea or lunch, they walk up to you and say, "No, I want to talk to you. Come here."
Why did you say
Yeah, and you forgot what you said 10 minutes ago. You worried about you might have gotten some word wrong and you worried, oh, did somebody hear? You know, someone will come up to you and you said this and now you explain, please. Then it's difficult to explain to them that, you know what, I was just saying what he was saying. I wasn't.
Mostly they were not concerned about forgiveness. They were concerned to know the truth. What happened to my child? What happened to my daughter? Something like that. So what happened is, what I've realized is most of the victims, if you come and tell the truth and they believe you, they're likely to forgive you.
You need to grieve. You need to get over it. And you can only get over it if you understand the situation fully. And that is why people wanted to hear what happened. They needed to hear that so that they could decide whether they are in a position to forgive or not.
And also just being able to put different pieces together of what happened in people's lives, you know, because you knew the Boers killed them, the Boers disappeared them, the Boers eliminated them, but you'd never really been confronted by concrete facts, the gory details of actually how it happened. And so one was having to deal with those kind of emotions as well.
In our case as interpreters, in some instances we could tell if a person was going to get amnesty or not. We had become accustomed to lies and truths and lies and truths to the point that we were judges.
It was like they were getting this sick pleasure out of just reliving this whole experience. Now, how on earth do you find it in your heart to forgive somebody?
When you come to the TRC and hear stories being told of people being killed in all sorts of manner, as much as these tales are shocking, at least, like you said, you have a frame of reference. You have a frame of reference that has already prepared you for the West.
Somebody would say something and tell the story and tell the experience, and you'd be close to tears, you know, because of that. And the next moment, you know, you relate the stories that you really laugh about.
A guy was explaining that they had killed someone and dissected him, and they had cooked the liver and
they ate it,
and the kidneys, and then they ate it.
I remember that.
And now he was being asked, but okay, the guy was in prison, so they had the trial record, and they were asking him, but here from the records it says you cooked not only the insides, but you also ate his eyes. And this guy says, you know, he's a very confident sort of guy. He says, no, you see, the court made a mistake. In fact, that judge was just talking rubbish. We didn't eat the eyes. After we killed him, we got them out and we gave it to the dog. But we didn't eat the eyes. We only ate the liver and the kidneys and the heart. You see, when he said that, people laughed. I mean, and in fact, we also laughed. What was so funny about it?
We used to actually purposefully try and crack a joke every once in a while when we were in the booth. You know, we'd sit there with a serious face and sit and interpret and then push a mute button and say, and you carry on. Just as if nothing happened.
These are some of the things that we did, not intentionally. And there's a lot of things, there are so many crimes we committed there. I remember divorcing yourself from the process. It was impossible. As a professional interpreter, I wasn't supposed to do that. But I can see this man, the way he talks, is he hanging himself? So what I have to do is, I have to modify some of the things. Not change the whole of his story, but modify and add something there.
You know what he means.
Yeah.
He's just not expressing himself properly, so you doing it for him.
And on the other hand, there's sometimes where I felt guilty because you might find that during the amnesty hearing, it was very tricky because, you know, his life hangs on getting amnesty and all that. And you find that maybe he said something and you made a mistake in trying to interpret it.
Yeah.
You said something else, and the judge got something, and they're fired up. Is it, what are you saying? And you feel you are the one who made the mistake,
Yeah.
not to him. You see, and you told them the wrong version, and then they're firing at him, and you try quickly to rise up and correct it.
In any case, you make or break the story.
Either you set him free or you send him to the gallows.
Exactly. This fear had been installed in us that we dare not fail. We dare not use the wrong terms. We dare not anything wrong.
I never really felt that I had any right to have any emotional effect as a result of it, because in the back of my mind I kept on saying to myself, I'm merely the interpreter. I'm not the one who
Who
was
suffered.
tortured, whose relatives were murdered, who lost all their possessions, all these sorts of things. And in the face of such overwhelming suffering, do I really have the right to sit here and say to
Simply
myself, you
detach
know, ooh,
myself
I
from
feel
it."
so emotionally burdened at the moment?
See, didn't you find that at the time when you were interpreting whatever was being said, you just simply did not have the time to sit and ponder?
The only way that I could deal with it, and not let it drive me insane, where I'm sitting with memories that don't really belong to me. They're someone else's memories, but now they've become mine through this strange process of being, of interpreting. I basically created like a mental photo album and put all these images in this photo album and just
Filed them away.
filed them away and put them there in the back of my mind. And if I revisit them, I'm looking at the album. And if I'm not, it's closed.
If these emotions did not erupt or were not manifested in one way or another, in a way of expression, where did they all disappear to?
This is the thing.
You see,
That means they're not
think
resolved.
They're not resolved. As slightest incident might trigger it. You don't know, because we've never had the opportunity to deal with it, confront it,
Are you
acknowledge it.
saying we're all walking time bombs?
But I think for most interpreters, if I may be a bit, if you can indulge me to be a bit arrogant here and speak for everybody, we knew and we recognized what significant role we were playing, even if it wasn't recognized and acknowledged. We knew that a lot of those stories could not have come through except through us. So we had a very good understanding of what a significant role we were playing, and therefore maybe we tried to put aside other things that were other anguishes, other pains. You just put that aside and said, you are here to play a very significant role, and at a particular point in time in history, which in a way we were privileged to have been in that kind of a position. So other things, you let them fall by the wayside.
Personally speaking, I think the experience, my personal experience at the TRC did add some value, because I was not the same person as I was when I went in. I came out, with a broader understanding of how the psyche of certain people works, especially the perpetrators. And I came out a little bit maturer, in the sense that I understood the goodness of mankind, the kindness of mankind. I knew that all along, but I had a different perspective of the kindness of mankind post the TRC.
The concept of forgiveness means different things to different people. Because when you look at forgiveness in English, it means one thing, to be able to reconcile whatever wrong has been done to you and let it go. Whereas in isiZulu, forgiveness, the word for it is uxolo. Ne? Uxolo. And if you look at that, it implies forgiveness, but it also means peace. So those two should, at least in the context of isiZulu, those two, peace and forgiveness, are basically intertwined. So in such a way that if we claim that we are forgiving one another, we should strive for peace.
We were told also not to acknowledge your emotions. The boss must never see you cry. If you're in detention, you don't cry. If they torture you, you don't cry. You don't acknowledge it. Then you come out, you don't even deal with it. For the first time, I was sitting in front of the mothers or the loved ones of my comrades that we buried as we were chanting slogan. Suddenly now, for the first time, the mother is here, relating their pain, how what they felt, what they went through, and I'd never dealt with before. I'd never had to deal with. So I think in a way I cried for the first time.
Appreciating where we come from and that we're still standing. We're battered, but we're not broken. And that we are able to continue with life.
The TRC in itself was not the end. It was merely a means to an end. It can most appropriately, to my mind, be described as the starting block. And that in fact I had to get out of the booth and get into the world, in a manner of speaking. That it was necessary for myself personally to start getting involved in something, and that there was such an enormous amount of work still to be done.
It is very strange that we came out of the TRC unscathed.
Who said we came out
I
of
don't
the
think we
TRC?
came out unscathed.
There are lots of other things one can look back and laugh at. Some kind of mistakes we're talking about we might have done, or misunderstandings, and just like difficult circumstances under which we worked. But we did it. We need to pat ourselves on the back. We did it.